Hola chamos, welcome back to another episode of Alvaro Dev Labs. In today's video, we're going to see how to build a model component step by step by using one of my favorite features from Vue3, that is the teleport. Also, for styling, we are going to use Tailwind. So what teleport allows you to do is to move elements or components from certain part of your Vue application to another. So Vue normally encourages you to build everything that is related to the UI encapsulated inside of the scope of a component. However, sometimes it makes sense that certain parts of the template of that component to live somewhere else in the DOM. A perfect example will be a full screen modal dialog, similar of what we are going to build today. So here I prepare a small Vite app that is just an app component inside of the body. And inside of that app, we have a button that if we click it, it will show up modal dialog like this one. Okay? So all this content here comes from the context of the app component. But in the DOM, here we have the body, here we have the app, and you will see that this here is actually our dialog component. So it's placed somewhere else in the DOM. It has been teleported. So enough talking, let's get practical. For today's tutorial, I'm going to use Vite, as I said before. Feel free to use Vue CLI if you like, but I strongly recommend you to try Vite because it's really fast and it's taking over all the modern front-end tooling nowadays. So here we have a basic app I created by this command, yarn create vue.js app, and you use the template for Vue. There are templates for React and another cool frameworks, even for vanilla JavaScript. And it's just a simple app, it doesn't have anything yet. Okay, so because we want to style with Tailwind, what we are going to do right now is just install the latest version of Tailwind. So npm install. You save it as development dependency. The latest one for Tailwind CSS, post CSS, and auto prefixer. For those who doesn't know what Tailwind is, it's just basically a utility-based framework or UI framework that works without mostly CSS. It's all by classes, using classes in your template. You can still write CSS, but it leverages the use of it. Why is it cool? Because it allows you to prototype real fast, and also it's really handy. You get to know the utilities, and then you can build amazing stuff because it's really good. So I already installed. No, I think I didn't. So let's install it. Okay. And after it, we need to initialize it. So the command for doing this is npx tailwind init.p. So what it's going to do is we're going to create two major config files, the tailwind.config.js and the postcss.config.js. For now, we are not going to touch anything here, but if you want to do better stuff on adding some more colors, fonts, or rules, this is a place to go. Now let's see if it actually installed. So let's use npm run dev to see our app here. Fine. And let's do a quick test to see if it works. So I'm going to create a div with a background of blue 200, and inside of it I'm going to paste the app. So okay, this is not working because we need to add actually here in the main CSS file, we need to add these 3 lines. What we're going to do is basically importing Tailwind to work here. So if we save here, and also in the app in the main JS, okay, we're importing it. Okay, now it works. So you see that Tailwind, it is in fact working. If we inspect this element, and I'm going to zoom it a little bit because I don't know if you guys can see it here. So this is the utility class, and it basically gives the color to it, okay, with this. So that's how Tailwind works. Okay, next thing, maybe we want to remove the color here. So I will leave this empty for now. And we're going to concentrate here in the components. We are going to create a new file for our modal dialog.vue. I think this extension doesn't exist. This one does. Okay, so here I will use this template for single file components, and inside of it, let's just create a div with the class of modal. Okay, we're going to put that role dialog for accessibility, and let's create a reference for later. Inside of it, let's just put some content. Here, name modal dialog maybe. Okay. And let's add it to our app. So here, instead of the template, I'm just going to call it modal dialog. We need to import it. So here, import modal dialog from components modal dialog.vue, and here we put it inside of components. So it's showing. So it doesn't look like a modal dialog at all. Let's get some styles on it. So here in the class, we are going to add a background of white because we want it to be white. We want to add a shadow to distinguish between the background. Okay. Let's use these width classes, and we are going to set it to the half of the screen. So here we have it. Maybe we're going to add a padding. So in Tailwind it's cool because you have these utilities and you can extend them. So you have the padding one that is a P, okay? And if you put PT, it will be padding top, padding bottom, padding right. And next you can put the amount. So it's, I think, multiple by 2s. So here it will be a smaller padding, but if you want a larger one, you can use P4. That's pretty awesome. It's really quick to prototype with this. So what else do we need? Maybe we will add a nice rounded borders to it. Next thing we want to do is create the backdrop of it, that translucent blackish kind of screen that covers the whole window, and above of it, it will come the modal dialog box. So we're gonna create it with a class of modal backdrop just to identify it, and we want it to be fixed. So we use this utility fix it. It will fix it to the whole screen. Background black. So let's save. Yeah, we want to move this inside of it. So the dialog box inside. Okay, that looks really bad because we need to add some width and height utilities here to take the whole screen. Now it's better, but it's still too dark, so we will not be able to see anything below it. There is a background opacity, and we can set it to 20ish, more or less. Okay, looks better now. Next thing we want to do, I will put in insert 0 here, is actually centering this div, right? So we're gonna do it with flex, and we are going to add the class of flex and justify a center. And inside of it, we're gonna pass this one. Looks more like we want to have. It will be missing some space here in the top. So there are several ways to do it. I'm just going to be extra lazy and use the padding top and put like 24. So it looks good. Now we have our modal dialog static there, but at least it's looking good with Tailwind. If we now check the console here, the spectrum, our modal backdrop still lives inside of the app component. So this is where we are going to use teleport. We want this to be outside of it at the body level. So what I'm going to do is use teleport tag. Funny, it doesn't recognize it like a tag. So teleport, and we are going to close it. And inside of it, we are going to paste our div. Our whole component is going to be inside. And we need to tell it to teleport where we want to move this element to. So here I'm going to put to body. You can also put another places and other tags here, but for this use case we're going to use body anyways. So if we save it and we go back here, you're going to see some new comments of the teleport start and end, and now you will see that the modal backdrop is completely outside of the div. So the next natural step will be to take this modal dialog and show it or hide it depending of a variable. I'm going to remove the inspector here, and we're going to go to our modal dialog and create some props. So we're going to be show, will be type boolean, and default false, and around here we're going to create a vshow, and we're going to use show here. So okay, it now disappeared, it means it's working. In our app.vue, let's create a button to trigger or toggle this modal dialog. Here I'm just going to add a wrapper, maybe with some padding. Let's move the dialog inside, and then a button here that says open modal. Okay, and because I'm really lazy, what I'm going to do is just copy and paste some predefined classes that I have for Tailwind buttons. Like this. So it basically what it does is just create a nice border with some hovering and so on, but it's just a simple button. So don't care too much about it. What we need to care is what we are going to do with it. So here I'm just going to add an event listener for the click, and we are going to toggle that modal, right? Okay, so here in the setup part, we need a variable that holds if at the app level the modal needs to be shown or hide. So here we're going to call it show modal, and we're going to equal it to ref that is going to be false at the beginning. We need to import actually ref from the Vue package. So here Vue, okay, and we need to return it here. So it's available on the template. So we return show modal. We need to create also the function that we bind to the event listener, so toggle modal here, and inside of it what we're going to do is change the variable. So show modal value is going to be the opposite of show modal value. We're using value because we're using ref here. So let's return this into the template, and we want to pass that value through the component by using the prop. So show model. So if we save it and refresh and we click the button, it will open our modal dialog. So far so good. The thing is that right now we don't have any element that we can click and close this modal dialog. So let's do that. For that, we will need to modify a little bit our modal dialog, because right now it's getting directly the value to hide or show the modal dialog through a prop. And if we want to modify that inside of the modal dialog component, it will be a bad practice to do it directly and modify the prop. So the approach will be to here open a setup method, and same as we did outside, let's create a show modal variable with ref. We will need to return it, so we can use it in on the template. And here, let's change it to show. Also, we will need to update it every time the prop change. So we will need to add a listener, and for that we can use watch. So here, let's import also ref, I forgot to, and watch from the Vue package. So to listen to prop changes, we need to pass here props. The setup method in the composition API can return two parameters. One is the props, and then the context. So the context will be useful if you want to emit stuff or access some other properties of the instance, but for now we're going to use only props. So here the watch function works in the following way. You have the source of the change that will be listening to props.show, and then a callback. Here we're gonna pass the variable, and then we're gonna modify the local value. Let's show modal the value with the current prop value. So if we save, this should do the same as before. So far so good, it's changing. Now what we want to add is a button with an icon to close. So to add icons to our application, since I'm using Vue, there is a really cool plugin. Let me just install it, clear here. So it's the following one. Vue plugin icons, and it uses Iconify in the background. So what is cool is that you have access to several bunches of icons in the web just by using this one. So let's install it, and also we will need to add it in the vue.config.js. So meanwhile it's loading, let's go here to the vue.config. Okay, I already have it prepared, but you need to add this line of code and then access the plugin here. So if we go to our modal dialog and we create here inside of we create a button, okay? And inside of that button, we use icon close. I think it was icon close. Yeah. We will ion. No, ion is for ionic. I think it's icon. I don't remember correctly. And you need to import it here. So from this package, the Vue icons, I'm using the material design one, and you can import the icon that you need like this. It's an SVG icon. So here, let's position it in a absolute way. So the button, let's use class absolute. We want to put it on the right, maybe right 2 and top 2 will be okay. Let's see, invalid end tag. Yeah, because it needs to be the same. I think we can use a self-closing tag here. Let me check. Okay, we cannot see it because of course we are not including the icon here. So we need to open components here, and we pass the components just below the props. So now it shouldn't warn anything. Okay, here it is. Cool. So we have our button positioned, but now we need to add a little bit of functionality. So whenever we click it, we want to close it. So close modal. Of course, you could change it here, right? Directly here, but I prefer to create a function for it. So here, use function close modal, and then inside we're gonna set this variable to false, and we pass it through. So if everything worked correctly, whenever we open and we click here, it will close our modal dialog. So next thing will be to change actually the content of the modal dialog, because it's pretty lame right now. So let's change the text here and use the slot here, slot, and we can pass from the app.vue inside of the modal dialog. So this is a self-closing component. Let's open it. And inside of it, I will paste the same text with the image of Goku being teletransport. And if we save it, it should work. Let's refresh it. Okay, here it is. So better content, right? Now we can close it. What we can do next is actually, when we open the modal dialog, the animation is really harsh. It's really like boom. There is no easing between. So for that, we're going to use a transition inside of our modal dialog to ease a little bit those animations. And the cool thing is that it works perfectly with Tailwind, because the transition tag uses some attributes like enter and leaving to add classes to it. And we can use the utility classes like transition, transform, and the easing ones to change the easing of the animation with Tailwind. So let's do that. Here, when we have our modal dialog, let's open here in the beginning. Not teleport one, sorry, transition one. And here we're going to open. And I'm just going to paste these attributes, but I will explain it to you. And let's close it just here. Okay, save it. So what is this going to do is that whenever it's entering the animation, it goes from an opacity 0 here, so it's entered from a class, it has opacity 0, like right now, it's hiding. And whenever you change this variable here, it will enter, and it will enter to the class, and it will set an opacity of 100. So it will give, with this is out animation, it will give a certain transition to open the modal dialog. The same for leaving, but just the opposite. So we're using easing, same duration, and it's going to go from an opacity of 100 to 0. So it's like a fade in, fade out kind of thing. If we test it, let's go here and refresh. I don't know if you can see it actually in the video, but it really looks more smooth. Maybe I can use a bigger one here, like 1 second. So, okay, I guess it's more noticeable in the stream. So, yeah, a lot more. So let's keep it at 200 because it looks better. And the next thing will be to animate the dialog box instead of only the backdrop. So right now we're fading in everything, but we want also a certain animation on the dialog itself. So around the modal dialog here, I'm gonna paste another transition tag, with more of these classes that I'm going to explain right now. And transition, we want to close it just before this div. So okay, let's save it, and I'm going to explain each one of them. So the effect that we are going to achieve is that from the beginning is opacity 0, and it's going to translate itself from this translate G10 works the same as in the CSS property. So it's being translated just below, and whenever we enter the animation, it's going to go to 0 when it's original one. Also, it's going to change the scale, so it comes from slightly different or minor scale to the 100% or the original one. Also, for this to work, we need to add here a vision. Why? Because if we are not toggling the visibility inside, the transition is not going to happen. So here we're going to use the same show modal thing, and I'm going to show you right now. So I don't know if it's visible, but whenever you open the dialog, it kind of go from below to the up, and it scales a little bit. Maybe put more time here so you can see it in the stream. Okay, yeah, well, this is to exaggerate, but it shows what I mean. So we close it, it fades, but when it opens, it goes from below and to top. So let's keep the original values because it looks good. And this improves the UX of the element because it's, for the user, it's not that harsh, it's not that flashy kind of animations go smoothly. So it looks really better. What else we can do? Okay, so the next part will be to close the modal dialog when clicking outside of it, and for that we're going to use a composition function to do that. Coffee. So now we can continue. Here, how we're going to do this? We need a composition function to be able to identify whenever we click or inside of the open dialog or outside of it, to be able to close it. To be honest, I create this composition function here based on one of my favorite libraries right now for Vue composition API. That is Vue.js. So this is just a compilation of amazing type-safe packages or composition functions here. For example, the core. You have a bunch of them, like use the battery from the web API, the browser API, whatever you want. Use dark, use device light, etc. So this is the one that interests us, is the on click outside. So basically what I did is that I created a local version of it without using the library, but if you want to install the library, feel free, it's amazing and it's tree shakeable, so it will not matter. I'm not going to explain exactly what the function does because it's kind of complex and it doesn't cover the scope of this tutorial, but what it basically do is it attaches some event listeners to the document, okay, that is mouse down, touch start, and pointer down. And whenever those happen, it checks if they happen outside of this target element that we get through a ref. And if it's outside, then it triggers a callback. It's basically what it does, okay? So what we need to do is here on our modal dialog component, we want to import that function. So we're going to import the composition function here, and inside of it, we're returning on click outside. So we go here, and we deconstruct here. Okay, we call the composition function, and here is on click outside. And what we need to do here is on click outside, we're gonna pass a callback. So you can see it here. You pass the target and the callback. So important part, I forgot. Here we need to pass the reference of our modal dialog, the template reference. So to do that, we already passed it here, this ref, right? So with the composition API, it's really funny, but you can actually use the reference like this. You start it as null. So it needs to have the same name as the reference here. So ref modal, and you need to return it here. Okay. So that will work. You will get the reference of the template, and you want to pass that to our onClick because it needs to know what element you want to check if you click outside of it. And the callback will be similar of what we're doing with the watch here. So what we want to do is just close it. We could, instead of doing it, we need to close it, so we are going to call this one actually here. So every time we click outside of this model, we are going to close it. I don't remember if we can do it a little bit better. And also we will want to know if the model is open already, so it doesn't trigger whenever this is not open. So that's important. Here, let's open here, and only if show model value is true, then we do this. And we need to import the function from here. So import, use click outside from composables, use click outside. Okay, and I think it will be it. Let's test it. Let's refresh. Okay, so we open it, and if we click here, it will close. So it's working. We also can close it here. Perfect. And that's pretty much how you implement a modal dialog with Vue Teleport and Tailwind. So if you like this tutorial, please comment on the video and drop a like. If you want to get more videos like this and you don't want to keep checking if there are new ones, you can always subscribe to the channel, and I will try to publish a new video every week. Also, you will find in the description all the code base. There is a repository link with all my tutorial code, so you can check this one here. Also, I will publish the link for the article, the written article of this tutorial, so you can check it in another format. So, thank you very much and see you next week.